councillors take their seats, please? We have quorum. We're ready to begin. Meeting is called to order. Come on, somebody pay attention. At least one person. Okay, good, good. There we go. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting of October 17th of this year. Councillor Pasternak, Councillor Carroll, all in favor, opposed, carried. Timed items from 1 to 6, thank you.
6, and then jumps from 34 to...
Okay. Preliminary, item 7, to be held under the name of Councillor Perruzza. It's the zoning bylaw amendment application for 2839 Jane Street. Item 8, preliminary report zoning bylaw amendment 151 Billy Bishop Way. Francine, this is fine. Okay, that's not being held. Item 9, yes, we're adopting the staff recommendation. Yes. Item 9, preliminary report, Tippett Road. Councillor Pasternak?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'd be happy to release that now with a quick motion for expanding the distribution. If the clerk can put it on the screen. There it is.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Item 9 is dealt with. Item 10, Councillor Cole, 529 to 543 Marley Avenue preliminary report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I believe I have a motion to extend the notice area to 300 meters. You want
On the
street
screen.
names?
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 10 is dealt with. Item 11, Ward 15 preliminary report for Lawrence Avenue West, numbers 579, 581, 583, 585. Councillor Cole?
I am, for some reason, going to do 250 meters on this one.
Okay. You see it up on the screen? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 11 is dealt with. Councillor Cole again, preliminary report 3000 Dufferin Street.
This is one of the most sharply worded preliminary reports I've read. I wish they just went straight to a rejection, because this is an abomination that they're recommending here. And look
An
for...
abomination, you say?
Yeah. Look for developments like this on your current apartments in the green and across North York. This one I'm extending to 500 meters.
This is Playfair?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor? Oh, wait, let's look at it first.
Should we just defeat it now? No.
Yes.
Defer it?
Yeah. Councillor, you have a motion? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what, Madam Chair, just on further review, I'm going to defer this to the next meeting.
Okay, good. Deferred to the next meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 12 is dealt with. Councillor Carmichael Greb, Ward 16, preliminary report for Briar Hill Avenue, numbers 368 and 372.
Yes, I will be doubling the notice area from 120 meters to 240 meters.
Thank you.
Let's tell the whole city.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 14. 14 is
14.
Counselor Shiner's. He's going to be late.
I have the expanded notice,
Go
though.
ahead.
Yeah, so if we can deal with it now.
Counselor
I think
Carroll?
clerks have it, that the notice area of the community consultation meeting be extended to include, in addition to the 120-meter radius, all landowners and residents residing in the area bounded by McNichol to the north, Gordon Baker Road to the west, Victoria Park to the east, and the Hydro Corridor to the south, and that the applicant pay the city for the costs associated with extending the area.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So 2614 is dealt with. 15, Counselor Robinson, preliminary report, Broadway Avenue, 110, 114, and 120.
So I have a motion to extend the notice area. It's on the screen. It actually has boundaries cited. And those are Sherwood Avenue, Briar Hill, Yonge Street to the west, Eglinton to the south, Mount Hope Catholic Cemetery to the east, because it's a funny boundary there. So that the applicant pay the cost.
Thank you. It's a lot smoother, Counselor, when you give these notices to the clerks beforehand, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed?
did.
Carried. Item 15 is dealt with. Counselor Fillion, West Lansing zoning study.
Does everyone in the cemetery get that notice now, too?
I'll move the staff recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 17 is being held for Counselor Perruzza. Item 18.
That's you?
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 19 is being held because there's a request to speak. Item 20, Counselor Pasternak, all-way stop control, Armour Boulevard and Lionsgate Drive.
Hold.
Who's that?
Me.
Counselor.
I have this feeling.
We'll hold it down.
Counselor Carroll? Item 21, Counselor Pasternak? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Always stop control, Dufferin and Waterloo. Counselor Pasternak, is
yes,
this your
I'll-
Waterloo?
Yes, it is. It is not my Waterloo, but I'd be prepared to move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Item 21 is dealt with. Item 22, please hold. There's a request to speak. Item 23, traffic calming, Codsall Avenue between Bathurst Street and Wilson Heights Boulevard. Counselor Pasternak. I'm sorry,
There's
we have to
deputant-
hold.
Yeah, there's deputants on
We
that.
have to hold that, deputants. Item 24, Counselor Pasternak, safety review, Bombay Avenue and Bideford Avenue and Avenue Road.
Yeah, I'll hold that down. I'm going to move staff recommendations, but there's another amendment to go with it.
Okay. Item 25, Counselor Cole, road alteration, Lawrence Avenue West at Dufferin Street and Corona Street via Bagnato.
I'm going to defer that, move to defer that to the next meeting, Madam Chair.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Francine, when is the next meeting? January 16th. Item 26, Counselor Cole, accessible parking space, Westmount Avenue.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 27, Glen Grove Avenue and Lois Avenue. Always stop control. Counselor Cole?
Just mind holding that for one moment,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
There is a request to speak on item 28, so please hold. Item 29, accessible parking space, Frontenac Avenue. Counselor Carmichael Greb.
Yes. 29. I will move staff recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 30, Counselor Carmichael Greb, turn prohibitions, Avenue Road at Briar Hill Avenue.
Move staff recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 31, speed limit reduction, Pleasant Avenue. Counselor Fillion.
Move staff recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 32, Traffic control signals and road alteration, Willowdale Avenue. Counselor Filion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 33, we are holding for Counselor Burnside.
Madam Speaker, staff are recommending approval, so I'm pretty sure they really want this one, and it does affect my trip to Loblaws. But
All
I'm
right
willing
then.
to move it.
Because it
I am
affects her
willing to move
trip
it
to
for Councillor
Loblaws.
Burnside because I
You
know
should
it's-
declare an interest.
All in
I really
favor?
should. I really should.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Madam Chair, I can move the staff recommendation on item 2627.
Turn to item 20,
27's held.
sorry? Josh, 26 or
Release it.
27?
27?
27.
Sorry. 27, yes.
Always stop control Glen Grove Avenue and Lois Avenue. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Perruzza, we were holding a couple of items for you. The first was item 7, which is Jane Street? Yes. Do you have an expanded notice, Francine? Okay, so we'll hold it? Okay. And the other one we were holding was 17. Traffic and parking regulations, Pioneer Village Station. You're moving the staff report? Okay. We have additional items to introduce. Additional item, which will be known as 2647, installation of an all-way compulsory stop at Exbury and Monclova. All in favor for distribution? No. I don't write this stuff. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, one person raised their, oh, Shelley raised her hand. Yes, okay. Item that will be known as 26.48, all-way compulsory stop control at Heathrow and Datchet, and petition to be entered on that one. Permission to distribute. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Memo from Councillor Filion regarding reopening of item 24.27, request for offense exemption. Now, we require 2/3 for this. Additional item 26.49, memo from Councillor Filion regarding reopening of item NY 24.47, request for offense exemption, 108 Elmhurst Avenue.
Okay, let's reopen.
Okay, so I need to see hands. Requires 2/3 to reopen. Against? Okay, so the item is reopened and can be distributed. New item 50, communication from Jared Goldberg requesting that the winter warm-up lounge at the Shops of Don Mills be declared an event of municipal significance. To be distributed. Yes? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Josh Cole regarding the request to reduce speed limit on all local roads in Ward 15. Introduction, please. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Filion. Additional item will be known as NY 26.52, extending the existing 40K speed limit on Avondale Avenue to Yonge Street. For introduction. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Memo from Councillor Filion regarding recommendations for parking prohibitions on Betty Ann Drive for distribution. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Additional item from Councillor Min Wong regarding request to place a no-entry sign at Terraview Drive and the intersection of Victoria Park Avenue and Farm Greenway. Introduction. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Additional item 26.55, memo from the chair regarding installation of all-way compulsory stop control at Garrett Boulevard and Regent Road for distribution. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And finally, Councillor Pasternak, item 56 regarding turn prohibitions, Codsill Avenue at Wilson Heights Boulevard, Wilmington Avenue, and Bathurst Street. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anyone else? Turn on your mic, please.
There's two more that I believe my staff just sent to Francine. You don't have them?
Okay, we'll introduce them
We just,
in a little while.
agenda, we don't pass any.
Let's do item 1. Yeah. Item 1 is 286 Finch Avenue West. We have one speaker. If there is anybody else, please register with the clerk beforehand. Mark? Yes? Noskowitz?
Joe Hoffman, I'm counsel. Mark's a colleague of mine.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, members of council. My name is Joe Hoffman. I'm a solicitor at Goodman's LLP. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Len Gold Developments Ltd. With me today are representatives of the client and Billy Tung, our client's land use planning consultant. The staff report before you today recommends approval of our client's rezoning application. We support city staff's recommendations in the report, including the proposed conditions of approval. The subject lands are located on the north side of Finch Avenue, just east of Bathurst Street. The application proposes a residential infill development consisting of 25 units in a 3-story stacked house townhouse form, fronting on Brent Hall Avenue. If I may provide some context. This is the subject site. This is an existing 4-story apartment building, and just to the north, at the rear of the site, fronting onto Brent Hall Street, we have the proposed development in a 3-story townhouse stacked form. In addition, this is an elevation drawing of the north side of the site, fronting onto Brent Hall. And if I may, the rear elevation. The existing 4-story, 47-unit rental apartment building on the site is being retained, as I just mentioned. Yes. The conditions of approval recommended by staff secure a number of improvements and renovations to the existing rental apartment building, and also secure the owner's commitment to maintaining the rental units for at least 20 years. This application represents a modest and appropriate intensification on a site on an arterial road in a manner that is sympathetic to and compatible with the surrounding single-family homes. Planning staff's report confirms that the application is in conformity with the growth plan, consistent with the PPS, and in conformity with the city's official plan, including the policies and development criteria for mixed-use areas and the policy of the plan relating to healthy neighborhoods, built form, and other housing policies. Our client has worked closely and cooperatively with city staff to address all technical concerns, and again, we accept and support all conditions of approval recommended by staff. We understand, however, that the councillor has expressed some concerns about the look of the townhouses. First, we note that the townhouse design is in keeping with the city's recently released townhouse guidelines. I showed you the front elevation of the client's proposal, and you can see the similarity. There is the cover page of the city's recently released townhouse guidelines. Second, and more importantly, it's important to note that what is before council today is a rezoning application. A site plan application has not yet been made, and there will be opportunities for the city to review the specific design of the townhouses as part of that future application. Any design changes will not affect the amendments to the zoning bylaw and will not affect the conditions of approval. And therefore, it's our submission that the application is appropriate, as recommended by staff, and should go forward to City Council for recommendation. We are therefore requesting that Community Council approve the application and recommended by staff to implement the zoning bylaw amendment to permit the proposed development. Subject to any questions you may have, those are our submissions.
Questions? You may be seated. Thank you. Councillor Fillion?
Yes, this application needs more work. I'm going to defer it to the next meeting of Community Council.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 2, I have no listed speakers. Let me just read out what it is.
Okay.
1 Heathcote Avenue, final report. No speakers? Councillor Robinson.
Yes, I just have a motion just to make sure this application on Bayview Avenue, which is, again, not overly welcome by the neighborhood, but I want to make sure it aligns with the Bayview design guidelines that we all spent 3 years putting together. So there's a motion that I think Francine has.
Item,
Oh, do we have to hold it down?
yes. While we're taking a little break, for item 26.3, final report on Victoria Park Avenue, there are 5 speakers listed on the agenda. If there is anyone else, please register with the clerk beforehand.
Madam Chair, maybe there's a gentleman who wants to speak right here. Maybe the clerk could raise their hand. Where are they supposed to go? There's a gentleman right here who'd like to speak. So, yeah, it's the clerk over there you have to speak to? Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Robinson has a motion on item 2.
Can you put the motion on the screen? Oh, you don't have to? Okay, so I'll just read it then.
Yes.
That we, that the height of the proposed development align with the Bayview design guidelines to a maximum of 3 stories or 11 meters is the motion.
Can I see nods from planning?
We haven't seen the motion, so.
Why don't we hold this down for a minute? Sorry, but there's no speakers, so.
Okay. Okay.
We are.
Item 2 is held down. Councillor Perruzza, are you ready to deal with any of your items? Okay. Can we deal with some of the items that have been introduced? We just have a few minutes before 10 o'clock. Is that all right? Councillor the first one, item 2047, the all-way control at Exbury and Monclova. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Fillion's request to reopen 108 Elmhurst.
Yes, something got missed in the initial approval, so the staff contacted me with, to say it needed to be reopened and corrected.
Okay, any questions?
It doesn't change the outcome.
Well, technically it changes the outcome, but it's the part of it got missed.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, opposed, carried. The Shops of Don Mills, Councillor Robinson, not here? Oh, communication from Jared Goldberg requesting the winter warm-up lounge at the Shops of Don Mills? Yes. You're moving that? I will. I have a question. Go ahead. Which staff can answer questions on item 50? No one yet? You want to hold it? Well, I want to know what it is. Well, no, I want to know when you identify something as an event. I think it's with a liquor licensing permit. Yeah. Yeah. They want to serve alcohol. In Don Mills. It's appropriate. It's on Labatt Avenue. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Josh Cole, request to reduce speed limit on all local roads in Ward 15. Any questions? Are we ready for this? Memo from Josh to reduce speed limit on all local roads in Ward 15 to 40K. Okay, we're holding that. Okay. Councillor Fillion, extending the existing 40K speed limit on Avondale to Yonge Street.
Yes, just to make the speed limit consistent on Avondale.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Fillion, regarding recommendations for parking prohibitions on Betty Ann Drive.
Just changes in the parking prohibitions as recommended by
All in
the
favor?
residents.
Opposed? Carried. Back to 48. Installation of all-way compulsory stop control at Heathrow and Datchet. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Minnan-Wong. Request to place a no-entry sign at Terraview Drive and the intersection of Victoria Park Avenue. Yes? Yes? File under F. Okay, all in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Ajamiri, installation of an all-way compulsory stop control at Garrett and Regent Road. We're doing this because there was a serious accident there on Sunday. All in favor, opposed, carried. Councillor Pasternak, turn prohibitions at Codsill Avenue at Wilson Heights Boulevard.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is to be moved in conjunction with item 23, which we have deputants on. So
Oh, okay.
I'll hold it down and move it as an amendment to the
Okay.
agenda item.
It is now 10, so we can deal with item 3. The first speaker on the agenda, Christina Rother. The second, Wayne McKenzie. You can speak at either of these. No? Kelly Nakamura? Please. Karen Jeffrey, please begin. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Nakamura. I've submitted my comments. I hope you have a copy. A brief background. My parents purchased a house on Wickmore Drive decades ago, directly behind the proposed townhouse development. I would like to raise concerns that came to light after the last community meeting. We received a letter dated June 26 from the developer's lawyer, Owens Wright. We discovered, much to our shock, that the developer is claiming ownership of 0.45 meters or 17.7 inches of land adjacent to the concrete retaining wall at the end of our backyard. We also discovered that the City of Toronto owns a 1-foot reserve strip beside the developer's 0.45 meters strip, land on which we planted trees decades ago and built fences. Please note that the commercial property owners on Victoria Park have never indicated ownership of our backyard space, or have objected to how we have used it over the years. I have 2 overall questions which will address our concerns. Firstly, based on an initial discussion with Solotex, the developer, I understand they can prepare a neighbor's letter agreement with a number of specific guarantees that the developer will follow. Our question is, can the city help us to ensure that a neighbor's agreement letter with the developer is binding and enforced to protect our property, avoid damage, and avoid costs during construction? Here are examples of possible conditions that reflect our concerns. All costs involving changes to our backyards and property during the townhouse construction will not be paid by the Wigmore residents. This includes the removal and replacement of trees, plants, and fencing. And please add a note that also this would include any damages caused should trees be removed. They would also be paying for the hiring of an arborist, that is to say the developer would be paying for the hiring of an arborist to assess the health of our trees near the concrete wall, as well as the impact of construction and the lowering of the developer's grade or land height on the health and stability of our trees. Removing the concrete retaining wall will not damage our trees, property, or the board fences between the neighbors. This is a particular concern, as the concrete wall is leaning on our wooden fences. Damage to our trees, plants, and root systems must be avoided. An arborist's recommendations may include not removing soil to avoid damaging tree roots, constructing a barrier to protect trees and plants, and watering trees to give them extra resilience. If the board fences between neighbors are cut back, we should receive a precise written specification of the amount of fencing involved, which we have not received, how far into the backyards the construction will go, and the location and specifications of the developer's final fence. Tall, secure fencing is needed for privacy. Flooding, which is a very serious problem for the Wigmore backyards, will not be worsened by the project. Please note, one possibility to discuss with Solitex is the Wigmore neighbors retaining access to the 0.45 meters and the developer's final fence being placed where the concrete wall is now, as opposed to the property line further into our backyards. However, we need to understand the implications of future costs, such as tree removal, once the developer's final fence and landscaping are added. And if I may present my second question, because it is related to this neighbor's agreement. What is the final grade or height of the developer's land immediately on the other side of the concrete wall? Is it the height of the developer's property line at the top of our backyard slopes? We need this in writing. We need to understand the impact that lowering the grade and removing the concrete retaining wall will have on the health and stability of our trees, especially the older tall ones. This will affect the guarantees request in the neighbor's agreement letter. We also want assurances that the developer will not cut into our backyards beyond the 0.45 meters if that is the final location of the developer's fence, and that they will not change the grade of the slopes of our backyards.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? You may be seated. There's a John McNeil. Wayne McKenzie, please be ready at this mic. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name's John McNeil. I lived in the area for 20 years. I missed the last meeting. I find there's, it says here 147 units, which would be 147 families. That seems excessively dense to me. I don't know about anyone else. It seems crowded. That does create a lot of problems. I'm not going to go into them, but does anyone have an objection to that? Because I do. I find that's a very dense area for all those families. Well, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Who's the next speaker, please? Please be ready at the speaking mics. Is there no one else for this item? Please be ready. Go ahead. You have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, everyone, council members. My name is Karen Rother Jeffrey. My sister and I, Christina Rother, own the property at 23 Wigmore Drive. We were informed of this development a little while ago. Many of our concerns have certainly been addressed. However, we have concerns regarding the trees, which we have expressed to John Lyon. And also there is concern regarding the impact of the construction of the proposed underground garage under the development at Victoria Park, facing Victoria Park. We feel that this may impact the foundations of our homes. We're the homeowners on the back, 7 or 8 homes, I believe, on 23 Wigmore Drive. So we do have concerns regarding this development. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Okay, is that it then? Well, come to the mic, please. Is there anyone else?
I'm last on there. I'm the applicant.
Okay. And your name, sir?
Benjamin Larson.
I'd prefer that you go now, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Could you wait, please?
Sure.
Good morning. My name is Benjamin Larson. I'm a planner from Hunter & Associates, and I'm applicant for the owner with respect to the rezoning at 1648 to 1682 Victoria Park Avenue. I'm pleased to present this proposed rezoning, which has a supportive final staff report from planning staff. And just about the proposal, it's a 4.5-story stacked townhouse development with 147 residential units. And as you can see on the overhead, just for context, the site is shown by the red star, and it's located on the west side of Victoria Park Avenue, about 950 meters north of Eglinton Avenue East and the future LRT that's going to run along that. So next we've got an aerial photo of the site. The site is outlined in red, and just to give a bit of context for it, to the north is Draycott Drive, to the east is Victoria Park. Victoria Park contains various uses and building types, including 3 to 11-story residential apartments, as well as other commercial uses. To the south is another commercial plaza. To the west are single detached homes which front onto Wigmore. So as you can see in the air photo, the site contains a commercial plaza. In front of that plaza is surface parking along Victoria Park. And behind the plaza is a service driveway along the rear, which was previously used for loading and waste storage handling. So next we've got a color site plan. As you can see, the proposal is arranged in 4 blocks. There's a central driveway along Vic Park that provides access to at-grade loading as well as the underground parking garage. Of note, there is no vehicular access proposed from Draycott. So you can see along the rear of the site, that will which is the top of the image, there's a 7.8 meter rear yard setback to the properties along Wigmore. And the owner is proposing a variety of landscape elements along the rear of the property to create a strong buffer. As you can see inside the site, there's an internal courtyard which provides access to the residential units, and it will be heavily landscaped. So next I'm going to give some comparison photos. The first one here is a view from Victoria Park. So if you look at the top image, this is the existing situation with the commercial plaza. It's got surface parking in the front. And then if you look at the bottom image, that's a rendering which shows the proposed stacked townhouse development. And as you can see, it will frame the street along Victoria Park as well as the side street at Draycott, and there will be new street trees implemented there. And here we have another comparison photo. So this shows the view from Draycott Drive. This is looking south into the site. The top image shows the existing condition of the commercial plaza. You can see to the right of it, that's the rear driveway, which was previously used for loading and garbage storage associated with the commercial plaza. And also on the right, you can see the concrete retaining wall, which straddles the property of the residential homes along Wigmore. So in the bottom in the proposed condition, you can see the proposal will remove the retaining wall, and it will match the grade of the properties behind the site. The area will be treated with new landscape plantings, and the owner will be installing a new 1.8 meter tall fence along the entire rear property line. And as you can see in the bottom photo as well, there's some new street trees that are proposed along Draycott. So in conclusion, I just want to say we'd like to thank City Planning and technical staff for working with us on the massing and functional design of the project. We're happy to have a positive planning staff report in support of it. In addition, the owner has also worked with the Councillor's Office to achieve a Section 37 contribution that will go towards improvements at Wigmore Park, so we're happy about that. And in conclusion, I'm available to answer any questions you may have in relation to this rezoning application. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? Councillor Menawong?
Yes. So in the materials, there was a note from one of the deputants that we received, I think it's dated November 13th. That's yesterday. So, and a number of issues were raised. So can you tell me the issues? Are there property line issues? Is there a fence, and you believe your property line's in a different spot?
Well, I know the owner is intending to convert the property to absolute title, and they started that process already. So there will be, I guess, that requirement for absolute title. And
So is that, so no, so you're kind of jumping around here
Yeah.
about absolute title and stuff. It's a very, actually, easy question. There's a fence there, yes? Is there?
no.
There's
That,
not-
can I just interject, please?
No.
Well,
I am a resident of
no,
Wigmore.
no, you
No,
can't.
so-
You can't.
So you can't,
Just.
are you, so
Are you on
you
the
believe,
deputies list?
so is it
I am
true
on
that
the
the
list.
residents?
Okay, just wait till you're called.
There's a property line dispute. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And are you going to be claiming land that they've been using for a number of years? Simple
That's a
question.
dispute, yes.
How much?
How much is it?
0.45 meter, it varies.
It varies depending on where, but about 0.45 meters.
So that's about 4 or 5 meters is about 2 feet.
0.45.
Sorry?
0.45.
Yeah, a couple of feet, yeah?
Yep.
That's the most?
You have to look at the specifics.
I would say generally, yeah, that's,
What?
generally, yes.
Generally, yes. So there's no, you're not taking any more than half a meter from any property?
No.
I see. So there's also an issue with regard to what type of fencing and what are you doing at the end of your property line? It's a downward slope, yes?
Yeah, well, it's going to be, right now there's a retaining wall. It's a grade difference, but we've been working with civil staff, like engineering staff at the city, and we're going to be matching the grade of those properties, and there will be a new wooden fence. It's going to be 1.8 meters tall.
Sorry, you'll be matching the grade, but there won't be a retaining wall.
There will not be a retaining wall, no.
And maybe I'm going to ask staff what they think the impact is with that. Maybe you can tell me, have you got studies to establish what we're going to be doing with regard to with regard to the flow of water? Because the residents on Wigmore, this has been a very large problem for all the residents on Wigmore, not just on the adjacent to your property, but all the way down the street to Elviston. They have water ponding in their backyards. So are you satisfied that your engineering solutions and your grading solutions, when you finish this development, are going to result in no ponding in their backyards?
What our civil strategy will do is on the site itself, it will retain water on the property. That's what our FSR report will do, and it will have to get signed off by technical staff at the city, but only as it relates to the subject site itself, it will retain the water on the property.
Right, that would mean that there wouldn't be any extra water that would be coming from your site onto your neighbor's property. Is that fair
That's
to
correct.
say? Thank you. Explain to me about your trees. There's an issue with regard to trees.
Yes, there are some trees that are in the rear of these properties, and I've got Steve here from Solotex Corporation, who's actually reached out to the neighbors, and he sent a letter, and he'll be the prime contact moving forward. And he's offered to meet with them, to go on site and go in their backyards with an arborist report, with an arborist, and to review the trees and to ensure that impacts will be mitigated when they remove the retaining wall.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Minawong. Any other questions for the deputant? No? I just want to make sure everyone has been called on the deputants list. We've heard from Christina Rother.
No,
No, that's you? Okay. Wayne McKenzie?
not present.
No, not present. Okay. Kelly McNamara? Oh, so you've heard. Okay. Karen Jeffrey? No?
We heard.
We heard. Okay. So, Ms. Rother?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Welcome, North York Community Council. My name is Christina Rother. I'm a resident of 23 Wigmore Drive. My sister was just the previous speaker, Karen Rother Jeffrey. We're concerned, and we've joined forces with Kelly Nakamura and the Langs on Wigmore. And we were all given affidavits from Vic Town's lawyer, Owens and Wright, saying that they will claim the backyard portion of our land, which is part of a hill. We all got surveyed maps with yellow lines. And we feel this is an invasion of our privacy, and this is our property. And we would like to address certain issues. I've seen a lawyer on this matter. My lawyer is Thomas Rassos, and he said it's a municipal case. So we want to be very clear as to what portion of the land is municipal. What my lawyer said it was like a 17, 18-inch strip of land that was municipal property, on which trees that were situated on the strip of land may have to be removed. But what portion is Vic Town's property is another issue altogether. So my questions are, when will Vic Towns start and complete construction of the townhomes on Victoria Park Avenue? How many years of construction can we expect? 2, does Vic Towns intend to remove the hills from our backyards to level the land to make room for underground parking? 3, will the City of Toronto or Vic Towns pay for the removal of the elms on the property line of Wigmore? 4, define the property line between Wigmore Drive residents and Vic Towns. So that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? None? Okay, thank you very much. Questions to staff? Councillor Menawong?
Yeah, let's start first with the property line issues. Are staff aware of property line issues?
Through you, Madam Chair, through you, Mr. Chair, we are aware that there are some property dispute issues between landowners and the applicant.
Okay, so my first question is, does the city own a reserve?
There is a 1-foot reserve that is between the subject property and a portion of the lands on Wigmore, but not the entire length.
Not the entire length?
No.
We're going to retain that reserve?
At this point, we have no plans that I'm aware of to dispose of it.
Okay, so then there's the applicant's land, then there's the reserve, and then there's the homeowners on Wigmore. So is it fair to say that the residents have claimed for a number of years up to half a meter of property on this, half a meter of property as their own, that the applicant wants to take back?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't want to interject on who's claiming what lands, because that gets to be a very murky issue. That's a matter between two landowners that the city never usually gets involved in.
So the city can't really do anything, we can't legally require or order the applicant to leave that land alone. They would have to make their own arrangements with their own lawyers for any claims of adverse possession or any other remedies that they might want to seek. Is that fair to say?
I believe that's correct, but I defer to legal on that question.
Okay.
Yes, yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Can we go back? So can we go to the grading issue for a minute? So maybe someone, Mr. Nanos, someone could talk to me about or talk to the committee about what the plan is for the retaining wall and any potential stormwater that might flow down into the homes on Wigmore that's on a lower, it's lower, and there's been habitual ponding that's been a problem for residents.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my understanding is that they will, as the applicant noted earlier, regrading to match the grades with the adjacent properties and install a 1.8 meter wooden fence. And it's proposed that all grading and drainage that originates from the subject property would be contained on the subject property, which is city standards. The detailed grading design is currently under review by our engineering department and will continue to be under review through the site plan process.
So before the site plan is approved and before the building permits are approved, our engineers will have to be satisfied that there won't be any water flowing from the subject land onto the neighbor's property.
Correct.
So let me ask you a different question. So let's say 5 years from now, we find out that the solution that the city has said it's not going to cause any problems is actually causing problems. What remedies are available? What can we do about that?
Again, I will defer to legal on that question, but I believe that would again be an issue between landowners.
Between landowners?
Between two landowners, yes.
Even if we approve the solution and we're wrong, then that's kind of, how do we deal with that? It just seems an unreasonable proposition that
Well, there would be a registered site plan agreement on site with an
Yeah.
approved grading plan.
Yeah.
So at some point, if there was a complaint, we would inspect the property to see if grading has changed since the approved plans.
Okay. Can you talk to me about the issue of trees?
My understanding is the issue of the trees is with regards to how trees may or may not be affected on the adjacent properties within 6 meters of the property line. And my understanding is that there are some trees in that area that could be affected that are not subject to the tree bylaw because they're under 30 centimeters, but may still be affected as a result of the removal of the current retaining wall and the grading changes. And the applicant is working with urban forestry staff together with the landowners to try to rectify that issue and try to minimize any disturbance to the trees.
So that's a site plan issue?
It's a civil matter between two landowners because it falls off-site, it's not on-site. It's with regards to trees that are on adjacent properties.
But if
So,
they
so I would actually defer that question to urban forestry staff who are here.
Okay.
So any trees that measure 30 centimeters or greater, 1.4 meters above the ground, should be dealt through a permit application, which can be done during the site plan process. Any trees that are located or that are measuring under 30 centimeters would not be regulated, and that would definitely be a civil matter between applicant and the resident.
That aren't regulated?
Yes, and we do regulate trees off the subject site, so.
So the ones that are larger than 30 centimeters, they would be subject to some level of protection, yes?
Yes, they're regulated trees, and they would be subject to a review of an application to determine what the impacts would be from any disturbance.
Can we, I don't necessarily need to do this in a motion, do you think it would be a good idea to go out and look at these trees to make sure that there aren't any ones, I mean, what you worry about is there's some big trees that they're gonna, that might be taken down. Can we send someone out to go have a look? Have you been out yet?
Staff have been out to the site and have reviewed circulations through this application. We can confirm with them if they've actually been to these properties to see which diameter trees are located on the site.
Can we do that right now? Have you, I mean, can someone give me some information if staff have already gone out and looked?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, my understanding is that one of the city urban forestry staff have been out to the site to check.
I go back to this young lady at the end who's supposed to be from urban forestry.
The planner from urban forestry who is working on this particular file is not here today. And this was the first knowledge that I had that we would be speaking on this item. So I can confirm which date we've been out to the site and if we've inventoried the trees there, or if an inventory was provided. I just do not have that information in front of me right now.
Okay. Sorry, I got to cover all these things off. I think, yeah, those are my questions.
All right, yes, Councillor Carroll, do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
They're just questions of a policy nature. I was kind of surprised when I looked at this that we weren't looking to require some sort of use of the land that had more of a mix, that tried to retain some retail grade. Was that ever discussed, and is there a reason why we're taking a holiday from that here?
Through you, Madam Chair, ordinarily we'll do that for mixed-use properties on an avenue. This property, although it's designated mixed use, it's not on an avenue. So there's no, although we can encourage mid-rise forms also on a mixed use property.
You're saying it's not on an avenue? Sorry to interrupt, but you're saying that Victoria Park is not an avenue?
No, except as far as it's noted in its name an avenue, but it's not an avenue in our urban structure map, this portion of
But it is zoned for mixed use and transit priority.
it is a transit priority, but it's not an avenue on our urban structure plan.
Okay. The applicant in his presentation uses one of the reasons for density that he highlights is being 950 meters from the Eglinton Crosstown, which is, you know, a compelling argument, and you know, if we proceed with that Golden Mile Village, he'll be even fewer meters from fairly dense development. Have we set guidelines yet on this eastern stretch of the crosstown for where you get to make that argument? Is it 5? Is it 750? Is it 1,000 meters? Do we have set guidelines on that score?
Through the provincial policies and the Metrolinx policies, we ordinarily look at intensifying within 500 to 700 meters of sites. This falls outside, it's 950, but it's still within a reasonable distance of the LRT, future LRT line. But I should also mention that although it's a stacked townhouse form, it's an intensive, compact type form of development because all the parking for the most part is underground. So in this particular stacked townhouse form, it's over two times density. You can compare that with the earlier stacked townhouse form that was deferred in Councillor Fillion's ward, which was 1.35 times. So there is variation in terms of the type of stacked townhouse form, and this is more on the more intensive side.
Okay, and the other thing I was looking for, and I know that you know, we don't have full-on inclusionary zoning yet, but this is an area that really is you know, known for having affordable housing, affordable rental in the private sector, not even socially zoned, but within the private sector. It's reasonable rents, from the low rises across the street, et cetera, et cetera. Was there any discussion about requiring affordable units instead of cash in lieu?
Sorry, that last part, instead of cash in lieu, I didn't.
Well, I'm assuming they're going to meet the policy. We're going to get something for affordable housing if we're getting 2 times density and beyond.
No, there's no policy that compels the landowner to provide any affordable housing given the size of the parcel.
So it's the size of the parcel that excuses them from the conversation, not the density?
That's correct. The only policies in our official plan that require affordable housing to be prioritized for Section 37 is the large lot policy, which requires parcels over 4 hectares to be, 5 hectares to require affordable housing, 20% affordable housing. Now, that's not to say that we don't have discussions with applicants to encourage them. In this particular case, there is a mixture of 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms for the most part in terms of the form of unit types, but they haven't committed to providing any affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Speaker.
All right, we'll go to speakers. Councillor Min Wong, you have a motion? Sure. Are there any other speakers? Yes?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to say briefly, this is, you know, clearly there are a lot of things to be worked out individually. There are legal matters between owners and the applicant, and the local councilor's done a good job of making it clear that, you know, they have to be in their own driver's seat there. There's a fair amount of negotiating, which means it's a while before there'll be a building permit and this thing is proceeding. But that's why that's why I'm concerned about the fact that really this is Eglinton Crosstown intensification, and it's transit intensification, and I know that it's a small site, but I think all along the crosstown, we're going to have to begin to turn our minds to policy that looks at how we're going to, in that intensification, maintain some affordability. Today we heard deputations from all of the people who live in the area, who live in homes that are very, very valuable. But sadly, we did not hear from the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who live along Victoria Park who are likely going to be displaced by the crosstown. This is an area where, because of the sorry state of some of the strip malls, the apartments around them are one of the last bastions of the 900 a month apartment. There are a number along here that sell for 900 by the time you finish the Golden Mile Village, and wonderful looking developments like this. A lot of people are going to be displaced. And so I highlight it because I think we have to go back to planning and growth. It's a shame the chair's not here today because he sits on our community council, but I know he's ill. But we need to go back to planning and growth and say the problem along Eglinton, quite different from, in my ward along the Shepherd Subway, we're not dealing with the large lots. We're not dealing with 4 hectares and up, as I have again and again and again. We don't have giant towers in the park sites to deal with, but we're going to have to, on these small sites, try and figure out some way to maintain some affordability for those voiceless people that are about to be displaced by the crosstown. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Councillor Minnan-Wong.
Thank you. I'm going to move approval of the report, and I have a motion. City Council direct the applicant make best reasonable commercial efforts to address impacts to adjacent properties on Wigmore Avenue to the west with regards to tree removal and replacement, that removal and replacement of fencing and related matters that may arise as a result of construction activities on the subject property. Just speak to this, Madam Chair. So, the deputants didn't really talk about that they were opposed to the application. I can tell you that the original, I think staff may have been partial to this as well, they wanted to put up a condo, like 10, 12 stories, right? Which, if you look at the street, that, right next door, there's another apartment building, so, their capacity to do that, would have probably been, they would have had a shot at it. But, the residents didn't want this. We looked at stacked towns, and they agreed to do this. So that, I think that was a positive for the neighborhood in general. We've had a number of community meetings, and at the final community meeting, there didn't seem to be any really big objection to the development. So that's great. So I'm comfortable doing that, moving approval in that context. There are a number of issues that are related that the residents have just raised with regard to trees and fencing and water runoff that needs to be addressed. I think a lot of those things can be addressed in the site plan. Councillor Carroll, I think she said that she doesn't think the site plan is going to be issued anytime in the near future. Well, that depends on the applicant and where the applicant wants to actually address the issues of the residents. So we can do that. So I don't think that we should stop moving forward. Stop this application moving forward because there's still opportunity to address those things. I'm not really sure that the one thing that we actually don't get involved in are property line issues. That's kind of outside the jurisdiction of this of council. But we'll try and see what we can do. The one really good thing about this is in the body of the report is we were able to negotiate a Section 37 for $850,000, and that's a big chunk of money for this community. And from that, I'm hoping that we can reimagine Wigmore Park. That can build a pretty fantastic splash pad and new playground for all the kids in the neighborhood. So I'm actually from that point of view, that application, what about the Victoria Villages is there's not a lot of stuff there, and when to get improvements you need Section 37 money now for Parks and Rec, anything new. And unfortunately, up until now, there hasn't been a lot of development in the area, so there hasn't been a lot of funds. This is the first step step forward, really positive step forward, where we're going to be able to fix up one of our parks that needs some attention. So I'm actually really pleased about that. So happy to move the report.
All right, we have the motion before us. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're going to item 5 next. It was a 10:15 public hearing. Neil Smiley is the only person registered to speak to this item. Again, if you're here to speak to an item, please register with the clerk. Go ahead, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here on behalf of the Sher Shemaim congregation, location at 470 Glencairn Avenue, which abuts the development site immediately to its east and north. If I could use your heads-up screen. The Sher Shemaim congregation's property is outlined in red and the development site outlined in blue with an X through it. I have with me today, Madam Chair, several board members and congregants, and no doubt the synagogue could have easily filled the room today with concerned residents and congregants alike. But given staff's recommendations, Madam Chair, the synagogue has chosen to speak through one voice today. As a matter of background, the congregation was first established in 1928. In or about 1966, it moved to the Glencairn Avenue home that I show you on the overhead. Today, with over 700 family members, Sher Shemaim is one of the largest Orthodox synagogues in North America, with a relatively recently renovated large sanctuary for worship and community and family events, busy catering facilities, seniors, and religious school uses. The synagogue is a hub of multifaceted activity, with religious communal activities taking place at the synagogue on a daily basis, both on weekdays and on weekends. Almost nightly during the week, Madam Chair, there are activities at the synagogue ranging from small to modest-sized educational classes, including those for seniors, to large community events, attracting at times over 1,200 persons. I suspect some of you have been guests at our facility. On weekdays, in addition to all vehicular and service vehicle traffic accessing the synagogue's property, pedestrians, including those pushing strollers, frequently use the driveway entrance for access and egress, particularly to access to the side and rear entrances of the synagogue to reach the school. The access point, Madam Chair, is on the synagogue's property, and it's shown in yellow. The red color on the plan are the movements that you would typically see for vehicles, albeit access across that frontage happens quite frequently. This past summer, the applicant revised its original application without the opportunity for any further public process, nearly immediately appealed the application to the Ontario Municipal Board. The revised application, among other things, changed the access point for the development site from using the synagogue's driveway to instituting an access point immediately adjacent to the synagogue's property. If I could show it to you, Madam Chair. The synagogue's access point is here in yellow, and now the new access point is immediately adjacent to the west, outlined in blue. I'm showing for you what I would expect the average bearer would note would be incompatibility of mutual access points. Why is Sher Shemaim here today? It's here to send council a loud message of objection to development as presently constituted. It wishes to support staff's recommendations to have council direct the city solicitor, together with appropriate staff, to attend the upcoming OMB proceedings to oppose the zoning bylaw application in its current form. So there be no misunderstanding, the synagogue is not opposed to redevelopment of the subject site. I know you hear it all the time, but it is honestly the truth. It also doesn't see itself measuring each square foot of Bathurst Street-related floor space, nor the height, assuming it's reasonable. It does, however, need to ensure that its use and enjoyment of its property, one that has been the custodian of and has been serving the community for over 50 years, is not unreasonably impacted by the proposed development. Let me share with you 2 points. As an obvious focus point, the synagogue's concern with the health and safe operation of its driveway entrance onto Glencairn Avenue. At peak periods, that access point sees cars queuing from Glencairn Avenue to make movements into the synagogue, and cars queuing from the driveway to make movements onto Glencairn. This situation is exacerbated, Madam Chair, quite often outside of peak periods when the synagogue has any sort of community event. To think that the proposed driveway access for the new development can immediately exist next to and close proximity to the synagogue's driveway is, with all respect, either wishful thinking or absurd. Add on the complication of additional traffic that's coming from the development site, Madam Chair, that's been recently before the Ontario Municipal Board. That access and egress point is shown in green on this plan. We really don't know what that situation is going to look like in the future. The access point needs far greater attention. Secondly, the massing of the proposed structure onto a 4-story element onto the driveway is essentially a small apartment building that will manifest itself right next to the synagogue property. If I could show you quickly the driveway and the synagogue building set way back from the street. We're going to have that mutual access here, and an apartment, effectively four-story building immediately adjacent to the west. The massing creates no sense of space. It creates a tunnel effect onto the synagogue property, and we seriously need a setback in this location where none is provided. In closing, we support the recommendations in the city staff report before you today. We look forward to the OMB hearing our issues. However, we will continue to work with staff and the councillor, even the applicant, if he so chooses or they so choose, in hopes of achieving an appropriate resolution of our issues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions of the speaker? Councillor Pasternak?
So it's my understanding that the retail on that corner will be removed to facilitate the building of this apartment complex?
The
Is that the retail traffic will stop and residential traffic will?
No, it's actually not true, Councilor Pasternak. The corner combined jewelry and coffee shop will remain and will be, shoehorned into what will surround it by development. There will be a main floor retail component in the redeveloped property, so it's a mixed-use project.
I noticed the Shoppers Drug Mart has closed. Is that?
That would be presumably anticipation of the development, but that location on the main floor, as you see it today, will be retail in part in the new development, and those cars will be using that driveway as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that intersection, the retail chaos that's there, the current traffic. So it's your feeling that this development will just exacerbate existing problems, and I would concur with that, actually.
Thank you, Councillor. We're looking for a solution there, but presently the amount of cars that are anticipated on that driveway right adjacent to ours needs far greater attention.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? You may be seated, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on this item?
Yes, Madam Chair. My name is David Nelligan. I'm here on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we disagree with the conclusions found in the staff report, but are very encouraged by the fourth recommendation in the staff report, which is that the city solicitor approves staff to be authorized to continue discussions with the applicant and address issues outlined in this report and report back to City Council if substantive positive changes are achieved. Madam Chair, it's the applicant's intention to continue with the discussions with city staff. We have a pre-hearing conference scheduled for December before the Ontario Municipal Board, but we have every intention to continue discussions with staff and with the neighboring synagogue, as the previous speaker intended. The issue with the synagogue is correct. We have engaged in previous discussions to try and share access on the private drive, but those discussions were not fruitful and are now exploring other options to gain access to the site off of Glencairn, which is encouraged in the city's plans. So we'll continue to have those discussions, and although we disagree with the conclusions reached by city staff, we're encouraged and excited to continue to speak with them on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Speakers, please. Councillor Carmichael Greb?
Yes, I want to thank city staff for their work on this, and I'll be moving staff recommendations.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Robinson, are you ready to? No? Okay. Item 6, please. Item 6. Refusal report. Yonge Street, Thomas Cohen is the only person who has registered to speak. You're here, sir. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am the chair of the Eglinton Park Residents Association, which is the body on the ground where this development is proposed. We are very pleased that the city planners are opposed to the development. We were shocked when the Bank of Montreal was brought down with such haste, and we see the present development as oversize. The one thing I would like to throw into the discussion as it rolls forward and as the city and the eventual owner, because this property is in flux, sit down and figure out what to do with the property is to remember the integrity of Yonge Street. Yonge Street is one of Toronto's streetcar streets, and it's interesting to think how down to 1945 streetcars defined a kind of urban fabric, small scale, granular, full of small operations, and these old streetcar streets, and we all know where they are, stopped developing in 1945 as the city moved from streetcar to automobile. And from that time on, as Toronto grew, we got what we can think of as post-war car streets, and it's interesting to see that in the past 70 years or thereabout, Toronto has never known how to turn a car street into a pedestrian street. So we have two very different typologies of main streets in Toronto. And the thing to watch with Yonge Street particularly, and also Eglinton, but Yonge Street very striking, south of Eglinton, north of Eglinton, is the immense pressure to transform an old streetcar street with its granular structure into something radically different, with massive structures, no granularity to speak of. Now, this is not an insoluble dilemma. There have been very interesting developments on Bayview, for instance, of mid-rise buildings, where with decent step back, careful attention to facade, modulation of detail, one can recreate the feel of the old pedestrian streets by watching facades, by watching heights, by watching what one can think of as a kind of variety. And one striking thing about the proposal that's being sent back is how flat and unvaried the street facade is, how dull it is, how totally antithetical it is to the feel of Yonge Street as it continues north all the way to the brim of Hogs Hollow. So what EPRA wants, that's my organization, as everybody rethinks this with goodwill and intelligence, is reasonable massing, good services, housing for people who are not rich, among others, and a kind of responsiveness to the local context where Yonge Street remains Yonge Street and where the old buildings, which are heritage-ish with their semi-strong designation, are allowed to retain their look. We would be delighted even to see the Bank of Montreal recreated if one could do that. So as I speak as a representative for my resident association, I ask everyone to return to this with intelligence, goodwill, an eye to value, and an eye to the nature of Yonge Street as it looks and feels and as it should continue to be, because its old streetcar nature is a real urban asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Counselor, do you have a motion?
Yes, I'm going to move staff recommendations on this. I just want to thank staff for moving quickly on a refusal report on this item. It is a ridiculous proposal at this site, and to think that giving a little bit of green space in sort of a response to tearing down a 110-year-old bank building would appease the community is the developer obviously does not know this community as well and is not building anything or proposing anything that would work in this community. So I want to thank Tom and his group for rallying the troops on this as well, and thanks city staff.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 4 is next. There is one speaker, Peter Zickerman. Are you here? Welcome, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to object a building of 11 stories right across my apartment building or my condo, which would be at 625 and 627 Shepherd East. We have bought our condo over 3 years ago, and a very important part of our decision before we purchased was the fact that we had a clear southern view of the city. Before the purchase, we looked at other buildings nearby, and we found that buildings in the immediate area located on a Shepherd were anywhere between 6 to 8 stories. So we believed there was a height restrictions in the area, and based on that, we made a decision to buy our condo. Since our condo purchase, we've seen the application to build at 621 Shepherd Avenue East, but we were not against it, as it was in line with other buildings in the surrounding area. Now there's a new applicant in front of you to build an 11-story building which would be 3 or more stories taller than the other buildings nearby on Shepherd. If you allow the 11-story height, you are sending a precedent and sending a message to every potential developer in the future that the city is easing up on height restrictions and now allows 11 floors on Shepherd. I'm not here to argue about the density issue of that project. I'll let the city planners do the argument on that, but I'm asking you to please reject the application for such height and do what's right for the area and what's right for the condo owners in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shiner?
Sorry, Mr. Sickerman?
Sir? Would you go back to the mic, please?
Peter,
Yes.
just, I'm sorry, I didn't get the address that you're living in.
662 Shepherd Avenue East.
So you're right along Shepherd Avenue?
I am 100 meters north of the proposed project.
And on what floor?
100 meters north.
And what floor?
My building is not on Shepherd, it's just off Shepherd. I'm on the 11th floor.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have speakers on this. Councillor Shiner?
It's in the community I represent. I don't know if there's anybody here from the applicant. I really wish there was, because I'd like to see someone whose face keeps spinning around in circles, and every time they meet with you, they tell you something different. And I say that because at the request of former Mayor Mel Lassman, which some of you remember, he asked me to meet with this applicant, and he said they're going to work with you because the application that's there isn't appropriate. And I said, before I work with them, I won't even see them again until they clean up the site. Illegal sales offices, illegal fencing, illegal advertising, disgraceful maintenance of the site itself. Just a plague upon the poor neighbors that are living there with these empty houses, which some of you have experienced, but continue saying, I'll take care of it. So, and municipal bylaw was out there on numerous occasions. It was, they came in to see me, they said, don't worry, we'll work with you, we understand the plan. And the head keeps spinning, because they say that one day and it spins around, they do something else the other. So the short story, colleagues, is the refusal report from staff is absolutely right. It's unfortunate that we don't have someone that wants to work straightforward and honest with you, that comes in and works with the staff. They really are just wasting staff time with it. They want to abuse the process by going to a hearing at the Ontario Municipal Board, and I'm telling you that I will work on behalf of my community very strong to make sure that what they're asking for is not what they get, because it's completely inappropriate. And I'll move the staff recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 34 is next. There is one speaker. St. Germain Avenue, Steve McMillan. You may begin.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's time. My name is Steve McMillan. I live at 255 St. Germain Avenue. My wife and 3 boys have lived there for 11 years. When we moved into the property, there was a pre-existing fence there that's about 30 years old. It was of modest construction, and about once a year, vandals would kick in the lattice, and the neighborhood kids would knock off the tops. So eventually it fell into a state of disrepair, and we needed to replace it. There was an existing encroachment agreement from the previous owners, which we maintained. We mistakenly believed that we could rebuild on the existing footprint, and so we rebuilt a new fence in the same position as the old fence using the same post holes. Now recognize that was a mistake. I apologize for that. The fence, I believe, is in keeping with the neighborhood. Most other corner lots on the same street have a similar fence in a similar position. The staff report believes there's no transportation issues, given how far back it is from the corner. We have cut back the hedge already in the front of the property to comply with the height. Both neighbors on either side have said that they like the fence. We've probably had 100 neighbors walking by the property saying that it's a big improvement from the old fence. I'd like to thank the Councillor Carmichael Greb for coming out and having a look at it, and the staff for coming to work with us. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speakers? Counselor?
Yes, I will be moving staff recommendations. As the deputy said, I went out and saw the fence. There's no issues with it. And it's the same as every other fence on corner lots in the neighborhood. So please support
All
the
right.
recommendation.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 35, I don't have any registered speakers for. 97 Roslyn Avenue. Would the local councillor like to make a motion? Councillor Robinson?
Thank you very much. I'd like to move staff's recommendations on that to approve the request.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Robinson, are you ready to deal with item, what was it, item 2?
Yeah, I see some of my colleagues deferring items. I'm tempted to defer this, but I'd actually rather just move through the system. So if council would support me, what I'm recommending is that we move it forward to city council without recommendations so I can have a bit more time to
Okay.
work with the parties. Would that be acceptable?
Yes, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 36, Giovanni Tassone is the only speaker I have. Welcome, sir. You have 5.
Sure, thank you. I'm here actually to ask for a deferment for 1 month. We have an application in to demolish this house. It will get rebuilt with time. It's just that there's a complex family structure
Okay,
involved.
so the local councillor this is 426 Glen Grove Avenue.
That's correct.
And Councillor Carmichael Greb is the local councillor. Could I just ask if she would be willing to move a deferral
Yes,
for January?
sure.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We received an email from the constituency assistant asking for letters.
Mm-hmm.
My client, more the owner, doesn't have any objections to providing these. He just needs more time.
Sir, take yes as an answer.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 37, Councillor Carroll. Are there any speakers?
just-
Let's check. No, there are
Madam
not.
Chair, I just need to belatedly declare a conflict of
An interest?
interest on this,
Okay.
as both myself and the city are currently being sued by the former owner of
Oh,
these
that's always
properties.
fun.
So I think I actually do not have a conflict.
So would the
of-
record show,
out
please,
of
that
an
the
abundance
councillor has
of caution,
declared an
I'm
interest?
Declaring one.
Thank you. Councillor Carroll, you're willing to make a motion on Bonington Place?
Yes, Madam Speaker, as ownership of most of the property is in the city's hands, I'm sure they won't mind if we move the strictest of conditions. I'm moving approval of the demolition, but it will be sometime before the road is built. So motion number 3 is approve the application to demolish the vacant residential building with the following conditions, and I think we can consider them
So
read.
that's item 3
Yes.
that you're moving.
Yeah.
Francine, you got that?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. The next item is 38. Councillor Robinson, I don't think there's anyone here to deal with this item.
No, I'd like to move staff recommendations on that.
100 Ronley?
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, for item 39, there is, Councillor Shiner, there is someone who'd like to speak. Is it Chen, Mr. Chen, 36 McNichol? Thank you and welcome.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alex Chen. This is my wife, Helen. We are the owner of 36 McNichol Avenue, and we've been living in this house for more than 7 years. And we are here to appeal the application to remove the silver maple in front of our house. Every year, we have several, like 3 to 4 times flood in our basement because of the root of the tree is blocked the sewage pipeline. And you can see, can you put the photo? The floor in the basement was damaged. This is the tree root. Floor. You mean floor? Floor. Yeah, this one. So this floor was installed after we moved in this house, this was damaged very seriously. And also we see some mold build up in the wall of the basement. So we cannot take this basement as a living space. Also because the water comes out from the same room of the heating system. So that may cause a danger in the future. I don't know if it's caused the electricity or some other damage to the heating system. You can see the water level is very high, and also because of the mold, we cannot expose health concern to our family, and especially to my daughter. She's 3 years old, and also everyday life was impacted because we cannot put even toilet paper in the toilet, because even small piece of paper will cause the clog and a block in the sewage system. So every time we take a bath or use washing machine, use the toilet, we have to think about concern about the basement flooding. And every time we have to call the plumber to use the heavy machine, the snake. He has to remove the toilet in the basement to put the snake inside the joist system to remove the root of the tree. And the plumber told us the situation becomes even worse every time, because the machine has damage every time used, may damage the pipeline. It's ceramic, I believe, may break the system, the sewage pipeline. Before we move in this house, the former owner has already cut the branches of the tree and also replaced the pipeline outside of the house. I believe that has been done by the city, but the inside part of the house was not replaced, because I think that's difficulty to replace, because more than half of the basement was the crawl space, so it's very hard for them to do their work, to dig or do any kind of work, because I think it's 1 meter high, or like those, you cannot do anything. Can you show the photo? Yeah, you see, it's very limited. So the worker has to crawl into the space to do their work, to replace. And the company told us it's very costly. It's not feasible to replace the storage pipeline under my house. And beside that, I think the silver map is not suitable for the city street. According to the Ontario.ca and the Wikipedia, this tree can grow very big, more than 1 meter in diameter, and also very tall, and the roots are very aggressive. It may damage the sewage system and the wall of the house, also the walkway, like those. It's very hard to control the root for this tree. So what we request is to replace this tree with a smaller tree in front of our house. So, yeah, from the house far, because currently the tree is very close, planted very close to our house, so that the root may come inside our house to cause the damage. So we'll request to plant another tree far from our house, and yeah, so that will not cause this problem.
Thank you.
So,
Well, thank you. You've reached your 5 minutes.
okay, thanks everybody.
Okay, just a moment. There are questions. Councillor Carroll.
Hi. They circulated the pictures that you've shown. We all have copies of them. And you have a very real mess in your basement. So you have pipe work to do anyway. Have you gotten advice on how you are going to go about fixing the damaged pipes?
Yeah, we asked several companies, and they told us it's not doable because it's very hard for, I think it's more than 20,000.
Yes, it's expensive work.
Very expensive, and very, they are not willing to do it. Even you give them money, they are not willing, because it's very hard for them to do the job.
Have any of them honestly advised you, though, that that not fixing it means you're going to continue to have, you can cut down all the trees you like, you'll continue to have those floods because you now have pipe damage.
But that's only because the front tree, the back, we have 3 big trees on the backyard. That will not cause the problem. It's only cause the problem is that front tree.
But the problem exists.
Yes.
You
yeah.
have the problem.
But after they remove the
City
root,
staff are of the opinion that trees don't break pipes. They'll grow around them. But if a pipe has already broken and is open and is leaking water, the roots will go there. So that sounds like that's what's happened. But your pipes are broken nevertheless. You have to do this work.
I think it's not that serious because every time in the spring or autumn, when the trees grow, the pipe is blocked. Otherwise, it's okay, it's fine. So it's not that seriously at the moment. I think it's only when the tree grows, it's caused the issue.
Okay, those are my questions, Madam Speaker.
Also, I didn't mention that before we move in, the tree branch fell on the top of a root and caused the damage of the roof and the water leak in the top. So I will have to replace the kitchen top. But at that time, we didn't notice that we have to.
So,
there's
Mr.
opportunity.
Chen, you said that the sewer pipe is running through the crawl space?
Yes, it's under, yeah.
How far from?
Because ours is a back split, right? Our house is a back split, so the whole front part is the crawl part. So you can show the space.
This is a tree. This
Okay.
is the ground space.
Yeah.
And this is the furnace room. So every time the furnace room gets flooded and the water go all the basement, but the plumber come, they uninstall the washroom, the toilet, they put a snake, they go this way, this part, the root is in this part. And it's that every 3 months we call a plumber in and they fix it, and they said next time the root will grow again, so they will keep doing this.
So do you understand what's happened under your floor? Your sewer pipe is broken,
It's broken,
because of the roots, right?
but your sewer pipe was clay pipes,
Yeah.
and they're no longer solid and they're broken. So what's happening is when you flush your toilet, you use the drains, part of your water goes to the sewer, and
Yes.
part of it goes into the ground because your pipe is broken.
No, but after this.
Your pipe is broken, and because water is going into the ground, the tree roots are attracted to that. Unfortunately, that means you have to replace that sewer pipe.
But we don't think that the pipe still works because every
I
time
understand.
when the plumber come in and we
Remove that tree root,
But
it
do you
works.
then it works for
But do you
for
understand?
4 months.
That's right. That water is flowing through it, but it's also flowing out of it into the ground. Untreated sewage is leaking from your pipe into the ground every time you use it, because it's an old style of pipe.
We can
Have
show
you
you.
have you had an estimate for the cost to repair that?
We just asked several companies. They are not give us the offer, but the price. But they said it's estimate. It's above 20,000 like that.
And have you had a camera go into the? Mr. Chen, I can't take forever here. No, I know all the pictures you're going to show me, and I know what the cause is, and so do my colleagues. We've been doing this for a long time. Have you had a camera examination of the pipe?
We haven't do that yet.
Okay.
But the root, we can show you the root is it's small inside.
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, I don't have any other questions.
All right, no more questions. You may be seated, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any motions?
Madam Chair and my colleagues, I'm very sympathetic to my constituents that are here. However, we all know that cutting down the tree isn't going to fix the pipe, because the pipe's broken and it's leaking, and it shouldn't be leaking raw sewage into the ground. So I'm going to support the staff recommendations to deny it. But to the Chens, you have not contacted my office in the past. Please contact my office. We will ask our folks in water, wastewater to come out and see how they can look at it and give you some advice. I would strongly suggest you get a camera inspection of it to find out what's wrong, and then some estimates to fix it. Because it's leaking into the ground and we can't permit pipes to leak. The second part is, even if I tried to move it here, I would never get it through City Council for that reason, as we all know. So I'm moving the staff recommendations to deny the tree removal, but if I can help in any way, contact me and I'll try and help through my office.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 40 is next. There are two speakers, Steve Humphrey and Glenn Allen. Mr. Humphrey first. This is 134 York Minster Road.
Hi, I'm Steve Humphrey. I'm representing Andre Nazarian, the landowner, who's away, about the removal of a Norway maple at the rear of the property. The tree is affecting all the fences, neighboring lawns, and foundations for sheds, and all the neighbors would like to have it removed. And it has other reasons for removal as well, including the roots, some cracks, and many other reasons that my arborist would like to comment on. So I'd like to introduce Andrew Woodgains. And here he is.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Woodgains. I'm an arborist in the City of Toronto for the past 35 years. We took a look at this tree in the summer when there's a lot of leaves on the tree. And Norway maples are notorious for growing fast and smothering all other trees and ruining the biodiversity in ravines. But they're not a bad city tree because they provide a lot of shade. In this situation, the tree is growing up beside the fence, and there's a girdling root that comes across the front of the tree here. So it hasn't got a typical root flare, and the root flare is really important for the tree stability. We visited the tree this morning, and there was what we couldn't see in the summer. There's a large Verticillium Wilt scar that is traveling about 2 meters on the main trunk up the tree. And then and above that, there's another Verticillium Wilt scar that's very large. And there's some lateral branches that have declining on this tree. Now, the tree beside that has been condemned, or as a hazardous tree, is to be removed. And that's going to create a lot of sun scalding on this tree, so it's going to exacerbate the situation. So I'm not saying that the tree is an imminent hazard, and it's hard to say whether it lives, whether it'll live another 10 years or 2 years. It's hard to say, but it has a certain contributing factors to the decline of the tree. So in light of that, I'd like to say that if the tree was removed, it's maybe sometimes better to invest the growing time in a better species. So planting a better tree in a better spot might, in the long run, would be a better investment of time and energy. Thank you.
We're open to questions. Yes, Councillor Carroll.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the part in the report about there was another tree, but it has already been removed.
No, the tree is still standing, but because there's a large crack in the stem, it has been exempt by the Parks Department of the City of Toronto. So removal of that tree is on the south side of this tree, and it will create a lot of more sun on that tree, so that often you get sun scalding, which is a more contributing factor to decline.
So are you the second arborist?
I'm the first arborist.
So the second arborist, they apparently got a second opinion, and they raised more issues, but we're still in a situation where where staff don't think any of these are issues that would knock the tree down anytime soon.
Not at this point, but these are sort of growth restricting factors that may affect the tree as years go by. So those girdling roots, they restrict the growth, and already on that, the root crown is not flaring out, so you know that there's something constricting underneath there. And a lot of times Norway maples, they get to a certain size and then they just fall over. Now this tree, because of its location, it's probably a volunteer, so it wasn't really planted. So it wasn't, the root pruning wasn't done in a nursery, so the root system can be all over the place. It could be not very uniform.
So I'm really having trouble. What tree got removed then? The report here says the subject tree had some visible girding roots, but they were small, with no apparent effect on health of the tree at this time. The adjacent tree that was perceived to have a competitive advantage was removed since the time of this application. Is that the tree I see in the picture that is attached to this report? There are 2 trees in the picture.
That's right.
Is one of those now gone?
No, it's still there.
So what is the tree that was removed?
It's that's the tree that is slated for removal. It hasn't been removed as yet. We haven't had the tree services on site. We're waiting for this outcome to get them both at the same time, hopefully.
So you have permission to remove one tree, but that's not enough. You want to remove them both.
Yeah, the tree that we're hoping to remove was the original tree that we asked for removal. The second one was not encroaching on the fences and whatnot. But the cracks have made it dangerous. It does have to go. They both have to go.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So the report is wrong. It's not removed yet.
That's right.
It's slated for removal. It currently has not been removed yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Through you. So, if I'm not mistaken, when your original request came in, the concerns were damaging an existing fence and interfering with another tree, correct?
Right.
Okay. So the interfering with the other tree is the tree slated that's to come down, correct?
Yeah, well, I didn't look at the other tree.
But correct, is that, the interference is, that tree is now slated to come down. So your second issue is no longer an issue, correct?
Well, no, but if the first tree was going to remain, removing the tree that we wanted to remove that was would come out, the first tree would remain as a healthy tree.
But it's not.
But
It's slated to come out. So dealing with what we have today, back to your 2 points. Damaging an existing fence, we can deal with that. Second point, interfering with another tree. That other tree is slated to come down due to its health, from what I read in the report.
Right.
So that's no longer an issue. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. So now we're dealing with damaging an existing fence. However, your deputation today seems to be more about anticipating the decline of this tree in question. So what is the issue? Just plain and simple. Is it the fence you care about, or you're anticipating decline?
Okay. Initially, it was the fence, and I went to write the report and to evaluate the tree, and I saw the girdling roots and evaluate as maybe if it came out, it would allow the other tree to flourish. And I didn't really look at the other tree.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
sorry to cut you off, only because I have 5 minutes and I got to get right to Oh, you're not?
Yeah.
Nice. Go ahead.
You got all day.
Go ahead. I love it. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we went this morning, and I saw the big crack on the tree that's exempt to come out. I see why. And on this tree, we saw some large scars up the tree, which are Verticillium Wilt. And that's a disease that gets into the Norway maples that's terminal. But how fast that disease goes to a tree it depends on the health of the tree. But that already you look up the crack, and there's a lateral branch that's already cracked as well, declining. And then further up, there's another crack up the tree. So this makes the tree very brittle, right? Now, we've had some good windstorms, so that's a testament to how strong the tree is now. But in the future, how is that going to affect the tree? So
it's the anticipation, right?
Yeah, so it's like, we're looking for the future. How viable is this tree?
Okay.
And if we're going to have these problems with the tree, like, say, 5 years, whatever, you see the wilt progress to the tree, then something that's better to plant a tree now at say, a 60 millimeter tree planted now will be a 120 millimeter tree planted, it grows out in 5 years.
So the fence is no longer an issue. Damaging the existing fence really isn't the issue. It's the anticipation of the decline of this tree. Is that correct?
From the landowner's point of view, definitely the decline of the tree. The neighbors are all mostly concerned with the fencing, and there's one shed that's getting moved from the roots as well.
Okay, so there are in fact two issues. Okay.
Yeah, there are two issues.
And could you not just build the fence, change the fence, and build around it? No.
He has just re-landscaped his yard, and he's planted a new tree and made a elevated box for it. And the fence it's not, wasn't part of that plan, moving the fence.
Okay,
Technically, yes.
Okay, so then this is my last question, and thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chair. So I understand the arborist, the landlord's point of view about anticipation, but from the residents, neighboring residents, it really comes down to this tree is interfering with the fence. So from the resident standpoint, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would like you to confirm your concern. You'd rather cut down the tree than move the fence.
Yes.
Thank you.
No further questions. You may sit down. Are there any other speakers to this item? Glenn Allen? No? Okay, so we'll take it into committee then. Councillor Carroll, you have a motion?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I'm going to move staff's recommendation to deny the removal of the tree. The applicant can remove another tree. He already has permission to do that, but our policy specifically states that we value trees and the tree canopy and the air we breathe over fences. Which is why I had to rebuild the fence in my very own property not too long ago. A lilac bush that turned out to be more of a tree than a lilac bush sort of took over the backyard and knocked the fence over. And my neighbor and I split the cost and built a new fence because I know council well enough to know that there was no cutting down this tree. And it is now a lovely tree. That's sort of how the policy works. It specifically states in the report that the city staff's evaluation is that the fence can be rebuilt without damaging the tree. And that's the lens through which we look at this, not how can we save the fence, it's how can we save the tree. Because the fence doesn't leave a legacy of healthy air for my grandkids to breathe. The tree does. And so we look first to save the tree. That's what staff's denial is for. And it's very unusual for someone to be able to remove one tree, have approval to do that, and come back and say, nuts, let's remove the other one too. If he still has a problem years from now, when he's down to the one tree, he can certainly come back, but he would have to wait 12 months before coming back to make another application.
Thank you very much. You've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 41, Ayesha Raman, 56 Cassandra Boulevard. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I complain about that to some tree for the for Christmas tree, and they make me so much problem. And I am very happy with this neighbor. I am very happy with the housing, and only problem is life-threatening my. I have some picture on when I go enter to the tree, and I go into the hospital. And my eyes were swelling, my tongue was swelling, my all the body affect to the allergy is very big allergy. And I received a letter from the city. The city is healthy, but I request, I am 6 children of mother. They care about my health too, because it is I'm going to die, and who gonna take care of my children? Because tea is not important to people's health. Health is more important. You know? For I have some picture, if you allow to, I show the picture and allergy effect to my body. And I request to remove that tree soon as possible, please.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
No, I have show the picture for
Yes.
my body. When I go to the under the tree and effect like that. sorry about the private stuff. It is.
It's her body, her skin. Yeah, she suffers from,
This is, I'm sorry for the showing the picture. It is the very, very bad allergy come affect this tree.
yeah. Ma'am, do you have a medical letter attesting to your allergy?
This is my eye, and I don't picture at my tongue. Tongue. It is it's emergency. This is I'm sorry to show this yeah, I have the medical record.
She's a tenant.
And when I go to the entry, this tree, even though I cannot open my window is all the branch come into my window. I cannot open my bedroom window. It is affected right the way. Look.
Ma'am, do you own the home?
No, it's community house. I received the housing, and I have the letter. I have the doctor note. Doctor give through 3-4 times to the letter, but I don't know.
Yeah, so you live in the townhouses down at the bottom of Cassandra, yes? You live in the townhouses on Cassandra?
Yeah, Cassandra Boulevard. This is my doctor note.
Right, no, I'm just trying to, just to be clear, you live at the Horizon townhouses on Cassandra?
Yes.
Okay, so you're there, you're a tenant, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so have you got any letters from the owners of the building saying that they're okay with this?
Yes, they okay. Then I talked to this one. They say you can go, you can speak, you can appeal, and they city order, we can remove it.
Do you have any letters that say that they support the removal of the tree?
They apply. They already apply, and you are denied. The 56 Cassandra already applied to the removal tree, and you are denied.
So my second question. So I have one more question. I don't know if Madam Chair, if I may. Would you be able? Oh, what is that?
This is the doctor note.
That's the medical doctor note. So thank you very much. I'm satisfied. I've got a question to staff if no one has any more questions.
Ma'am, there's one more question of you, Councillor Carroll.
Where's the letter?
Yes, I have a question for you. And this is a wild coincidence, but I once lived at 56 Cassandra. I'm over here, ma'am. Hello? Hello? Over here? Hi.
Okay, sorry.
I used to live there.
Yeah.
I know that one of the challenges is this is one of the townhouses in the 4-bedroom units, but there are 4-bedroom units elsewhere in this development, wherever the overpasses are. And I know that because when I lived there, we needed to move. I had a sister with a heart condition, and the stairs were too much. And we simply got on a list, and as soon as the owners were able to move me elsewhere in the development, because it's quite a large townhouse complex, have you asked to be relocated?
I do not understand. Sorry.
Have you asked to be relocated to another townhouse in Horizon Village?
Have you asked if they can move you?
Oh, no, because I love this house because it's front of my house, and I so much work. I so much working, and I'm single mom. I hard work that is not able to have.
There are other 4 bedrooms
This is
in
the
the complex,
community
though.
house. This is housing connection. They give me the house.
Oh, so you're there. You have a rent supplement to live there, because it's not a TCHC development.
No, this is the community. This is the housing connection for the city of Toronto. They give me this unit.
So you have because that's
Rent supplement. Yes.
yeah. So you have a rent supplement. Your rent supplement can move with you if you move elsewhere in the development.
No, they're not going to find this bigger house because I have children. It's 4 children. Long time after they find this house.
Okay. Okay.
Only I love the house, everything, community, everything. I love my school in Indiana because I'm single mom, and only happen in the tree when I go to the enter.